Hello, everyone. This is Rachel Maddow. Just moments ago, the Supreme Court dropped a hammer that could shatter Donald Trump's entire empire. I'm talking about sealed court filings, internal memos from the highest levels, and contemporaneous notes from justices' chambers that paint a picture of total collapse. This isn't just another ruling. It's the kind of decision that changes everything, exposing vulnerabilities no one saw coming. Official records show deliberations that went late into the night with phrases like unprecedented overreach and irrevocable consequences underlined in red. If you've been following Trump's legal battles, you know this hits at the core. But stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal from these documents will leave you stunned. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now and turn on notifications. This story is unfolding fast, and you don't want to miss what comes next. Watch closely, because every detail matters. Now, let's dive into the evidence. I've got my hands on what appears to be a leaked draft opinion from the Supreme Court, dated just last week, though sources say it was finalized in a closed session only hours ago. Let me read this word for word from page 3. The petitioner's claims of immunity are not only unsubstantiated, but pose a direct threat to the foundational principles of our republic. Petitioner here, of course, referring to Donald J. Trump. But it gets worse. Attached to this draft are emails, internal correspondence between clerks and justices, detailing how Trump's legal team tried to influence the proceedings. One email sent at 2:17 a.m. from a redacted address says, "We must consider the political ramifications, but the evidence is overwhelming." Overwhelming evidence? That's putting it mildly. Digging deeper, these documents reference flight logs from private jets shuttling between Mar-a-Lago and Washington, D.C. on specific dates, March 15th, April 22nd, and May 7th. Not once, not twice, repeatedly. Logs show passengers, including unnamed advisors and, get this, a figure matching the description of a former Trump cabinet member. Why the secrecy? Contemporaneous notes from a judicial aide describe heated phone calls where Trump's representatives allegedly pushed for delays, citing national security concerns. But here's the part no one expected: a recording transcript, partially redacted, of a conversation in the Supreme Court building itself. If this goes through, one voice says, it's the end of the line for him. No way out. No. Layering this on, court filings from lower federal judges, cross-referenced in the Supreme Court's decision, reveal patterns of financial entanglements. Think about it. Bank statements showing transfers of over $2.5 million to entities linked to Trump's businesses, timed suspiciously close to key hearing dates. Official records from the U.S. Treasury flag these as potentially irregular, with notes under oath from forensic accountants stating, "These transactions bear hallmarks of influence peddling." Read that again. Influence peddling, right at the doorstep of the highest court in the land. But wait, it escalates further. Internal memos from the Department of Justice leaked alongside these Supreme Court docs mention Operation Safeguard, a code name for an investigation into Trump's post-presidency dealings. Dates align perfectly. June 3rd, a memo notes a meeting at Trump Tower where advisors discussed contingency plans if the court ruled against him. Contingency plans? That sounds like preparation for collapse. And in the Supreme Court's hammer drop ruling, they cite this very investigation, saying evidence from federal probes cannot be ignored. The empire built on such foundations must face accountability. Moving to the personal stakes, let's talk about witness statements. Under oath, a former Trump aide, name redacted for safety, testified in a sealed deposition. He knew the risks, but pushed forward anyway. The Supreme Court was the last defense. This deposition, filed in D.C. District Court on July 19th, includes details of late-night strategy sessions at Bedminster, New Jersey, where maps of legal battles were spread out, marked with red X's over lost cases. Not just one aide. Multiple statements corroborate this, with exact quotes like, "The walls are closing in and the court is the final blow." Here's where institutional conflict ramps up. The ruling references dissenting opinions from conservative justices, but with a twist. Contemporaneous notes show internal debates where one justice wrote, "This sets a precedent that could unravel decades of political protections." Unravel. That's the word they used. And tied to this are emails from Trump's legal team to the court clerk's office, requesting expedited review on grounds of imminent harm to national interests. But the response? A curt denial, stamped with the Supreme Court's seal, leading directly to today's decision. Inventing more layers, consider the political intrigue. Sources close to the matter, think tank insiders, have shared redacted briefings showing how this ruling intersects with ongoing congressional probes. On August 11th, a House committee subpoenaed records that mirror what's in the Supreme Court's file. Phone records logging 47 calls between Trump associates and judicial figures over a 3-month span. 47 calls. Let that sink in. And in the ruling, the court nods to this, stating external pressures have no place in our deliberations. But it gets worse, far worse. Buried in Appendix C of the decision are financial disclosures revealing ties between Trump's empire and foreign entities. Specific numbers. $1.8 million funneled through shell companies in the Cayman Islands, linked back to Mar-a-Lago accounts. Under oath, a whistleblower from the IRS detailed how these were flagged in audits dating back to 2024, but suppressed until now. The Supreme Court, in their hammer drop, calls this a web of entanglements that demands resolution. Shifting to the human element, imagine the scenes described in these notes. Trump pacing in his office, barking orders as news of the impending ruling leaked. A contemporaneous journal entry from an insider reads, he slammed the phone down, face red, muttering about betrayal. Betrayal from whom? The very court he helped shape with his appointments. That's the irony here. The empire he built turning against him. And let's not overlook the legal specifics. The ruling cites case law from 1974, Nixon versus United States, drawing parallels. Just as executive privilege failed then, it fails now. Word for word. But updated for today, with references to January 6th committee findings, over 1,000 pages of testimony integrated into the decision. Not once, but repeatedly, the court hammers home that Trump's actions post-election exceed any reasonable bounds. As we peel back more, evidence points to coordinated efforts across branches. Internal correspondence from the White House, yes, even under the current administration, mentions briefings on the Supreme Court's leanings. A memo dated September 5th warns this could trigger a cascade in Trump's holdings. Cascade meaning collapse, from real estate to media ventures. And in the ruling, they address this head on. The implications extend beyond the individual to the institutions he represents. Here's the unexpected bombshell: surveillance logs. Official records from FBI field offices detail monitored communications where Trump's team discussed alternative strategies if the court ruled adversely. Dates: October 2nd, 14th, and 22nd. Strategies including asset transfers to family members, think Ivanka and Don Jr., totaling over $500 million in valuations. But the court shuts that door, stating such maneuvers will not evade justice. Layering on, court filings include expert analyses from constitutional scholars, quoted verbatim. This is the final nail in the coffin for unchecked power. Not my words. Theirs under oath in amicus briefs. And numbers don't lie. Polling data embedded in the appendices shows public support for the ruling at 62%, with breakdowns by state. Florida at 58%, New York at 71%. The empire's base eroding. But it gets even more dramatic. Redacted sections hint at classified intel, references to sensitive compartments where Trump's international dealings are scrutinized. Locations, meetings in Riyadh on November 9th, wires from Moscow traced to December 15th. The Supreme Court, in dropping this hammer, integrates these into their rationale. Global entanglements amplify domestic risks. Now, transitioning to analysis. You have to ask why this ruling came now, at this precise moment. Patterns emerge. Every delay Trump sought was denied. Every appeal exhausted. If this were anyone else, a senator, a CEO, they'd be in cuffs already. But for Trump, it's the empire's total collapse. Short, sharp, the stakes are massive. Legally, it opens floodgates for prosecutions. Politically, it fractures alliances. Think GOP donors fleeing. Morally, it questions how far power can corrupt. Compare scenarios. Nixon resigned over less. Clinton faced impeachment for far milder offenses. Trump? This is exponential. Financial ruin, legal peril, reputational shredding. The trends scream warning. Unchecked ambition leads here. Why ignore red flags? Why the repeated risks? The court exposes a system strained to breaking. Impactful? Absolutely. This isn't just about one man. It's the republic's health. In resolution, let's summarize. The Supreme Court's hammer has dropped, citing documents, emails, logs, and testimonies that seal Trump's fate. No more defenses, his empire in free fall from assets to influence. Long term, this reshapes politics. Accountability reigns, no one above the law. Morally, it's a wake-up. Power unchecked breeds chaos. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, share this, and stay alert. Don't let anyone tell you this doesn't matter, because it does.